I'm tired right now. I was like, wow, it got really dark outside. It just never occurred to me that there were.
Yeah, the lighting is
I'm not the most observant right now, I guess.
is very important.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, you doing dry Jan? Or?
No, I mean I have been just because I'm lame. Not intentionally, but yeah.
Dry life. That's a good.
I get high on life, baby.
That's great. Hannah, thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Hannah Liberman, everybody. The new proprietor of QED.
March 1st, officially.
March 1st, officially. Cool. That must be exciting and stressful.
Yep. The good news is those are like all the same feelings in my stomach. So I'm like, am I nervous? No, I'm just happy. It's fine.
Sure.
It's, the same stomach churning.
Before we get into it, I want to just say that I think one, like as someone who is trying to create a comedy space myself that is about creating a place for comedy to happen that has to do with my vision and style and the way I want to try to separate myself from the world outside and do comedy my way. I know like the calling and the feel to do that. And I think anyone who is trying to do that and elevate comedy in any way, which is basically not just doing the shittiest, bar show in the world where like there's no intention or thought given to like how good of a show is it. Anyone who's trying to make comedy and make it better and put their heart and soul into it, I have a lot of respect for. And also I know how much work it is to do anything in this business.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insanity to get involved. You have to be mentally ill.
Check. Done and done.
But it is so much fun, and I could not exist in any other world. So it's been like, I mean, we'll get into all this, but it's been a labor of love. But what's so funny is people have been thanking me because they were really sad to have that space closed. I mean, QED is like such a warm artistic space and like a safe place to. It was really became like my artistic home here, and people keep thanking me, and I'm like, I did it purely out of laziness. I was like, I refuse to go into Brooklyn for comedy. Like we cannot lose. I'm not taking the G train and then transferring to the like shuttle and then back to the G train. I just can't do it. So for all the work it's been, I really made this decision out of pure laziness. That's the right reason.
Yeah.
Tell me about like so. One thing that I think is interesting, and this podcast will probably be part of a series that I'm going to do. I want to talk to some of the other people who are running these new comedy spaces in New York. I'm not exactly sure what the phenomena is, but it's like a pop-up comedy club or like a boutique comedy club. But like, I thought I had a pretty singular vision during the pandemic, and then it turns out like 9 other people thought the same thing. And so now you have like places like Flophouse and Bushwick Comedy Club, and there's a bunch of other places that are kind of in that realm. But QED, so you're kind of doing that, like that's your journey, but also QED has like kind of a legacy of its own, and it was one of the original like kind of boutique comedy clubs, like QED and the Creek was like in the previous era of New York City. Like that's what I remember being.
I feel like QED also is unique in that it's not strictly a comedy club. Like there's the QED itself is Latin for quod erat demonstrandum, which means like having been demonstrated. It's for math geeks out there, but the logo, the like motto is a place to show and tell. So it has a ton of like storytelling open mics and storytelling shows. There have been podcast recordings. I have an opera workshop coming up next week. There's I'm doing Disney Channel original movie drinking games. Mm-hmm. There's musical theater bingo and adult spelling bees. Like it's just like kind of a like variety show cabaret space. Yeah. So when I'm filling out all the forms to register, it's like, it's a comedy club, but it's like plus, with an asterisk. It's really just like a community performance space. Yeah. Yeah. So that I think kind of puts it in its own category in a way because, it's the programming there's a lot of like breadth and depth to it. You know.
Well, we're like a media company. That's what we call ourselves. But the comedy is what like brought you here.
Yes.
And like that's kind of like the soul of it. And it's like even like stand up sometimes it's like, I'm a stand up. That was my inception into this world. But at the same time, it has now evolved into a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But there's still like that core comedy thing.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I've been making the joke lately where I'm like, I didn't move to this city to become a comedian. I moved to be in charge of accounts payable. Like, like the dream. I think I don't want to like give up on Hannah the comedian, and I'm certainly going to be performing at QED a bunch. And also like for all the crap I just said about going to Brooklyn, please keep booking me. I will perform anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think there were some other muscles in me that I wasn't flexing that I'm really excited about. Like we're going to be teaching an after school theater program for 8 to 11-year-olds. And like the theater side of me needed to come out, and the teacher side of me, and the party planning side of me. The current owner, she said to me that running QED is basically like throwing a dinner party every night. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome and exhausting, but awesome. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like itching a scratch I didn't realize I had. Yeah. Kind of on the organizational side. And there was, when I was first like exploring maybe buying QED, because I found out when everybody else did that it was being, closed unless she could find a seller. And that was the Thursday before Thanksgiving. I had the stomach flu, so it's all kind of a blur to me, if I'm being honest. If you've ever done anything through a fever dream, I spent my entire life savings while having the stomach flu. But I was like, oh my God, QED's closing. I can't believe it. And then my boyfriend was like, well, you should buy it. And I was like, haha. And then I told my mom, and she was like, well, you should buy it. And then by Friday, it was kind of like the wheel was moving, which was just wild. It's been such a whirlwind. Yeah. But it's not like I found out before everyone else that it was potentially closing. Like I watched the same Instagram announcement. And where was I going with this? Oh, so one of my big concerns when I first like took this on was, well, I don't want to give up on being a comedian. Yeah. But I actually think yes, I'm like performing significantly less this month than I was this time last year. But on the other hand, I think this is like opening up a lot of doors for me, which is again to say, please book me. But it's one of the benefits of it too. And this is what my mom had pointed out to me is that, no one ever asks guy comics, how are you going to balance this into family life? But for me, I was right at this stage where I would start like maybe opening for someone on a tour or like creating my own little tour. And it was a lingering question for me, like, how am I going to start a family? And like this other part of me, how am I going to balance that with comedy? And with this, it's like now I'm so grounded to this community where it's like, the basement of QED could definitely make itself into a playroom. Like it feels like kind of this perfect combination where I'm still in the comedy world, I'm still performing, I'm still doing all kinds of like performing arts endeavors, but I also kind of have this like home base that is keeping me here. So it feels like it kind of fits well with where my life was going. Yeah.
I'll say a couple of things that I've experienced. One, and I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it a lot more. But I'm interested in people who get into this business. It makes me. It's super insane to me to think about people who aren't comedians who get into like the show production of comedy, because it's like this business sucks. Like it's awful. It's so hard and there's no money in it.
It's like when people on Kitchen Nightmares are like, I just always enjoyed restaurants, so I thought, why not do one? Yeah. And you're like, oh my God. Yeah.
So I the people who like run comedy clubs that aren't comedians, I have no idea how that like how you do, why you do that. But then at the other hand, like comedians are the last people to be running a business. Like we should not be anywhere near anything that needs to be organized and done on a tight fashion with discipline. So it's this weird balance of like, I don't understand, but I couldn't do it any other way. The other thing I also like to kind of your point was like, you know, please book me in Brooklyn, but there's a sense, and I think that we all have this in the pit of our selfish souls that we don't want to like really talk about, but it's okay because it's like, you know, there's a little bit of you do this is because like I'll get stage time and I'll get booked and like I want to, you know, I want to be able to go up as much as possible, and so let me open a club. That definitely like it's definitely there to different extents for everyone, but at the same time it's like, as you evolve and as you start to take on the responsibility of what you're doing, one, you realize that the game of like running a functioning like ecosystem, including the business aspect, but including the community that you'll come to rely on, both your staff and the comedians who come in there and all the people that you work with. And then also like the game of like, you know, running a business and fostering like growth. That becomes really exciting. And it's like, and by the time you're getting booked at QED because people are booked in Brooklyn because people want to do QED and they want to trade spots with you, you're not going to want to go to Brooklyn. You're
yeah.
like,
I'm becoming a little bit lazy about it myself. Yeah. I mean, lazy is not the right word, but I just have so much going on. And I think so, this time last year, I was just barking like crazy. I was barking like almost every night. I think last April I did 40 spots in the month of April. Jesus. Like, yeah, I was freaking exhausted. Barking takes just a little piece of your soul, even for redheads. Yeah. It just kills you. And I was doing hella spots. And then around when Cambry was announcing that she was thinking of selling QED, I was hitting a comedy anniversary and I was like, how do I wean myself off of barking? Because I started to realize that I had gotten in my reps. I had done, you know, quantity of spots, and I needed to start focusing on quality, right? Like doing shows that matter to me and that are giving me more than 5 minutes and that I'm not necessarily barking all the time. Like it was time for me to shift and move on. So this was kind of the perfect way to do that. But yeah, it's intoxicating, the business side of it. Like I'm so thrilled by like the unit pricing of the candy I just purchased. Like I'm my father's daughter. I called him. He was like, Costco would be so proud of you. Like I'm thrilled by that stuff. And when you're talking about the organization stuff, I think I'm definitely on the more type A spectrum of comedians. Like
that's important.
Yeah, I'm a very
we
like
do not have that.
Yeah, no, I'm like I totally get what you're saying about. Like, I wouldn't trust me as a comedian either to run the space. I would be like, is she qualified for any of this? But I'm not. No. But
but that's the thing.
No one's good yet. You can't really go to school for this shit. But I feel like I am someone who looks like if I had a clipboard, it wouldn't look out of place. I would look like someone who can be holding a clipboard. Like, I have a joke I say about I've got big, like, field trip chaperone energy, where I'm just like, if someone came in here right now and needed a Band-Aid, I'd have the Band-Aid in my purse, you know? Absolutely. So getting organized it's like kind of thrilling. That's like the muscle in me that I wasn't itching, is like I was producing shows, but I wanted to be like more behind the scenes of that. But I didn't go to school for stage management and I didn't go to school for business. I was a poli-sci theater double major. So we're kind of in no man's land here. And it's been like, I feel like I've gotten these like mini crash courses on like, I had to learn all about botulism so I could get the health exam license, so I could do the health permit so we could serve popcorn. Like I had to get, you know, for the liquor license, I'm sure you know this, it took like a year off of my life. It is. My application was 117 pages. I killed a small forest to get that liquor license. And you have to get fingerprinted and get a bond, and you have to run the notice in the newspaper. And it's just like so many steps. But I've been like, I've had some stressful moments. My poor cats have been cuddled within inches of their lives. Yeah. But I've gotten through that part. And it's like, we're getting organized. My boyfriend is a an econometrician. So he's like, all right,
A what now?
it's economics, but with even more math. And his whole thing is making prediction models. And he's like, I can see how our growth will be blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, baby, I'm still at like, how much should we spend on toilet paper a month? Like this is, but it's, so that part's been very exciting. It's a fun little like numbers game, but also scary because it's not a game. It's like actually my life savings. Yeah.
Your strengths will be utilized to their maximum extent.
Yes.
And your weaknesses will be tested, and you'll learn. And a year from now, you're going to be like, I can't believe
we did this and this. It is very helpful that I'm taking over a business, one that already exists. Yeah. It doesn't save me any time on like the liquor license. I have to get my own and all that. But having someone in place who's already learned these lessons to be like, hey, people are going to call you and say, do you want to subscribe for this for your fire extinguishers? You don't need that. You need this. Like it's been so helpful to take over a business where like the vendors are already in place and the experience. QED's been open for 10 years. The experience exists. So I'm like super lucky in that sense. And that the current owner is also mentoring me, and it's in our contract that she has to continue mentoring me for the first year. And like, I'm sure there will be many a crisis phone call of like, how does this work again? So some of those like tougher lessons have already been learned on my behalf, which is really, really nice. And then the other thing you were saying about like, you're buying a thing for stage time. I'm like, I am very hesitant to put myself up on stage at QED because and I think this is one of the things I love most about it. It has regulars. Like our audience isn't mainly like tourists. Our audience is mainly Astoria locals who come to shows, multiple shows. I'm like, I simply do not have enough material to put myself on stage every week and give them a new 15 minutes every week.
And like there's a level of responsibility that comes with that where you like, this isn't fucking McDougal Street. This isn't Times Square.
Right.
Like these are people that you are going to either see again or never fucking see again.
Right.
And if you piss them off or if your show sucks, like it's done. And so you can't just let whoever, including yourself, just get on stage with a bunch of garbage and ruin a show. Like,
right.
Like, unless you like really set the expectations that this is an open mic or a new material.
Yeah,
thing.
no. And there's so much goodwill out there for QED in the community. Like it's a very beloved place. We had audience members a few weeks ago when I was hosting who their first date was at QED exactly 10 years ago to the day, which is just like adorable. But there are people who've had their baby showers there and their wedding receptions. And it's just like a lot of people had their first show there or did their first open mic there. There's a lot of goodwill in the community for QED. But it's goodwill that I don't want to exploit. So, it was funny when I knew I was buying QED, but we hadn't announced it officially yet. I was in this comedy group chat on Instagram. Someone was like, yeah, heard QED is closing. And I was like, oh, is it? Maybe not. And then someone was like, no, I think they found a buyer. And I was in the corner like, tee. I've never been trusted with a surprise party before, if that shows how difficult this was for me. And then someone said, I hope it's not some young comic who's just going to put themselves on stage all the time. And I was like, maybe we should give her a chance. Maybe the new owner is really cool and sensitive. So it's kind of funny watching it all unfold, knowing what I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, because I have, my perception of QED over the years, and I did mics when I first moved to the city there, and I'm obviously very aware of it. But what is the history that you know of the place? Like, yeah.
So the current owner, Cambry, she's been in comedy for 25 years. And she's married to Christian Finnegan, who's also super established comic. And
she's not is she a comic?
She's a storyteller. She's also a New York Times bestselling author. She has a fascinating life. Wow. Yeah, she's kind of like has her finger in a lot of pies. Is that an expression, or did I just? Okay, it is now. She's got her toe in all the pudding. I don't know. She opened QED and grew it into this, I just think, really incredible vibes of an artistic space. Like, first off, just as a woman, it is like, I'm not saying no dick jokes, but it is like the least misogyny per open micer. Like, it's like, I one time was at a mic somewhere in Brooklyn, and I was hosting it. I came back to my boyfriend and I was like, baby, incels are a real problem in this country. And he was like, it's called selection bias. It is the people showing up to mics. So it's a very welcoming kind of like artistic community. And kind of like where I feel like a lot of comedy shops feel like a frat club that you walked into the basement of that happened to have comedy. QED is more like a bookshop and cafe that happens to have comedy. So I really love those vibes. Where was I going? Question. I can answer questions. Oh, the history of it. And then during the pandemic, everything was shut down and Cambry just had to totally rethink. So she kind of converted it into a bookstore, which it ended up staying a bookstore for a long time. They've always sold
books, or they've always had like a front store, right?
I mean, they didn't always have that kind of inventory for it. So it really was a big shift because you couldn't legally have shows during the pandemic, which just is a killer.
Yeah.
And then since then, she's just continued having like all these events. It's very plugged into the community. So there are a lot of like political meetings, or like the Shop Small Astoria or Destination Ditmars, like small business organizations have meetups there. And she spearheaded the creation of those. And AOC had a fundraiser there once. Like it's just very like plugged in to the community. And then I think what happened is it had been 10 years, and I think Cambry, she'll tell you this herself, but she was like, I did what I sought out to do. Mm-hmm. I accomplished it, and I'm ready to kind of move on. And I'm very flattered that she allowed me to buy it from her, because she kept quoting that King Solomon story in the Bible that's like, I'd rather let this baby die than give it to the wrong hands. Yeah. Like, she definitely got offers more than what I was giving her for QED, but she wanted it to go to someone who knew the space and knew comedy and like was very on board with the whole mission and like raison d'etre of the place.
Sure.
And then I had the stomach flu, and now here I am. That's the timeline.
When I found out that you were buying it, I was like, oh yeah, that's like the same energy.
Like that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot for a lot of people. They're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
For my mom and my boyfriend, who are the ones who encouraged me to buy it, they're like, well, duh, it should be you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You'll definitely, maintain their legacy and continue it, but it will start over time to show your character as well.
Oh, yeah. Already it's going from being 5 days a week to 7 days a week. That's already a change, because that's, a 30% increase in how much we're open.
Sure.
And there are a lot of like little passion projects that I get to throw as events now, like the Disney Channel original movie thing, or there's just a lot of like cute little ideas I've always had that now I get a playground to try them out, right?
Sure.
Next week we're doing musical theater bingo. That's just me wanting to play my favorite musical theater songs to random people, and now I have like a captive audience for that. Potentially, please buy tickets.
Theater kid mecca.
Yeah, exactly. Or like like people who want to do random things like a puppet show. Like we have just like a blank canvas for what people want to do with the space, and I get to kind of be steering that ship, which is so many metaphors all in one sentence, which is exciting. It's like kind of feels like being, I'm not just the owner, but I'm like artistic director, which is kind of fun for me. But in terms of like changes, I think comedically it's going to be the same QED people know and love, just with plus, plus a little more.
Yeah. So. Any like 5-year or 10-year goals that you've had that will probably change by the time you get there?
The goal I think I am definitely going to keep is not going bankrupt, which would be my goal. Mm-hmm. Right as it stands right now, I plan on just like kind of living at QED, and it's going to come to a point where I'll find people that I trust, where I don't have to be there every day and stuff like that. But no, the goal is just to have it be like continue to be a great destination for all sorts of artistic pursuits in Queens. And I think looking beyond that, there are just certain programs I'd love to expand. Like I'd love for us to really be a stronghold in kids programming for theater, and for people to keep doing book readings and play readings, like
Yeah.
nerdy shit. If I'm not
No,
nerdy theater kid shit, I want to keep doing that.
It's a story.
That's what
right
we're here for. Oh my gosh, the excitement! We sold out last month. Our adult spelling bee sold out like freaking crazy. Yeah, and so we have game shows each month. You know, that's musical theater bingo is one of them. But like, so many people come up to me being like, "Can I do this very niche specific trivia night?" Sure, you can. Yeah. Just kind of like whatever your passion project is, there are a bunch of other people who have that passion, and have them come out and have them buy drinks and don't let me go bankrupt.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing that works is you have to find things that are within your
wheelhouse
and just things that you are passionate about. We've done a lot of things here that are like these are objectively good ideas when done by someone who actually really, really cares about it. But if this isn't like your thing that makes you really excited, then it's not going to work and it's not going to get the attention of everyone else. Like if I did a Disney bingo, it would not be this, I would not bring the same vibe to it as you were going to.
Yeah.
So, we've seen things that are like, oh, this should work, but it doesn't. So, and now that we've like kind of honed in on the stuff that like really does make us happy and things that we are really excited about, sometimes it's harder sometimes you have smaller audiences or smaller niches,
right?
But
then like reliable niches.
Once they do
so
connect
like,
with you,
we have a feminist book club that meets once a month, and we have a board game meetup that now is going to happen a few more times a month. And sometimes the board game meetup is 6 people, but then sometimes it's 30, but those core 6 are always there. Yeah. And it's like,
I heard a comedy club that I was reading somewhere that was like they make half their money from like a Dungeon and Dragons night or something. So it's like if that's your thing, like.
But also I love the board game meetup people. Those are my people already, so it fits with me. Like, I want to do an event. I haven't like planned it out yet, but where it's just all of the New York Times games, a competition of that, where you do like the crossword, the mini, the Wordle, the spelling bee, maybe throw in a Merriam-Webster blossom. It's going to be fun. And like QED is the place where that would happen, you know? So it, like you were saying, it just like makes sense that they found the dorkiest, most feminist, most like binder energy woman that they could. And the universe said, boop, done. But it makes sense. It's going to be good stuff. But definitely the other thing that's nice about it is so many of our events are from independent producers where it's like, it doesn't have to be my passion.
No.
My passion just has to be having a space available and like the structure in place to let them do their thing.
Yeah. You have to vibe with them and it has to be their passion or whoever.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about who's top three comedians you'd like to have at your space?
Oh my gosh.
You guys already have Gary Goldman and Mike Kaplan sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
Gary Goldman and Mike Kaplan both have monthly shows. Gary Goldman's had some time off because he's doing an off-Broadway run right now, but very much hoping he comes back. But great. Yeah, Cambry gave a lot of now very famous comedians kind of like their first spot in New York or their first time producing. And in fact, that's how I got in with QED is I did my first headlining set there. And she like helped me to produce it that was my first time doing a 30-minute set was at QED. So which is crazy because it was like a year ago. Things have been moving very quickly. I remember 2023 New Year's, my resolution was to host a mic in Astoria, and then I did it for Grove 34. And now my resolution is like, do not let this comedy club go under. But it's been a like kind of precipitous big. I'm like, how did I get here? I don't know. But no, okay, top 3 comedians. We already have some really big names there that I love. Would love to get Amber Ruffin. I already have some Seth Meyers writers on there, but I just think she's delightful and the kind of like quirky, like musical elements, kind of like more variety show comedy. Let me think. Honestly, one of my favorite comedians in New York is Mike Kaplan. So I'm just delighted that like we're first name basis pals now. Cool. Because I think I'm really into like clever wordplay or like I call them golf clap jokes, where you'd be like, oh, good show.
Yeah.
I like that shit.
He's a great person to follow on Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Very like wait, don't tell me vibes, which is the same here. I mean, my like dream before I even got into comedy, my dream of all dreams has always been I just want to like write for Seth Meyers. So anytime I get someone from the Seth Meyers team here, I was a poli-sci major, so like it's the marriage of everything I love. Anyone from John Oliver, like anyone related to that stuff, that's kind of my shit. So we have Matt Goldich doing a show next month.
Great.
Yeah, he's a great guy. We have, who else? There's a bunch of cool writers where it's kind of nice to get to see them like as an individual rather than as part of this bigger project and see like, and then you can tell what jokes they've been writing on the show, which is kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, that was a Matt joke because it was really bad. No, Matt's great. What about for you? What are your, like, are there
comedians that we want to get?
Yeah.
So Eddie, we have Eddie Pepitone on Monday, which I was really excited about. He's a LA guy. There's a bunch of LA comics that I want to try to get when they come through here, but I mean, we'd also, as far as New Yorkers, I really like to get Sam J. I'd like to get Big J Okerson, 2 J's.
It's a requirement.
Yeah, I'd like to get, I don't know, Michael Che would be cool.
Oh, yeah, that would be super cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, anyone. Eventually, I want to, we want to get all the big names, like a John Mulaney here one day, or whoever.
No, it's QED. So it's been, it was part of Jim Gaffigan's show. There's like an episode that's kind of like QED is one of the characters in the episode. Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did they as a QED?
As QED.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of like SNL alums who have like come through and done stuff. They're like Kate McKinnon and Pete Davidson did a set there back when he was starting comedy. And it's like, it's because it's become a place where you can like foster talent, which always makes me feel so grateful that I got to do my little 30 minutes there, because it has a good track record of like helping people kind of find their way comedically. And just, I think Cambry just has a really good eye for fostering talent, because she picked me. No, but it's been very flattering now seeing the back end and like booking our house shows and stuff and being like, I can't believe I got to be booked there so much, because I'm looking at this list of comedians and they're so talented and have been doing comedy so much longer than I have. And I guess that's kind of the benefit of hosting, is you can really like worm your way into some spots. But yeah, it's been kind of like fascinating now seeing how the sausage gets made and all the things that happen in the back end. And like the decisions that go into it, where it's like, yeah, this guy has 1 million followers, but he's twice canceled on us and showed up late that one time, and I can't deal with that shit right now. It really, in case you like are a comic watching and think this is bookers blowing smoke up your ass, being polite and being on your shit is like 90% of it. Yeah. Like being reliable.
Yeah. No, having a comic cancel, especially if they are the headliner, is
my gosh, can't even imagine that.
It's an awful experience.
Or just like running late and not texting you. Like, I don't know, because it's all so much for me to learn right now. Mm-hmm. Like I've been saying, if someone tried to teach me the rules to a board game, I think I'd just explode at this point. There's like no capacity left in there. Not having to worry about that, like having reliable people, done, you're booked. Like that's the consideration happening right now. So it's kind of like, oh, that's why, this person keeps coming back, because they're great and they're always on time and they're so friendly and the vibes are great. Are you
gonna have an opening party or something?
We were considering it because I'm taking over March. March 1st is a Saturday, so it kind of works out anyways. I'm hosting that QED Presents. Mm-hmm. So it kind of works like as a party. And then March 2nd is the Oscars, which is a big night for QED, our Oscar night party. Okay. So the current soon-to-be past owner and I will be co-hosting that event. And then March 3rd, I had already booked, before I even knew QED was being sold, a show as part of the Knockouts Women's Comedy Festival. My show's Silly Geese. So it's an all-women comedy show. All the tickets come with goose-shaped sugar cookies that I make myself. It's a little...
Of course they do.
Now, because now you're getting it. And I've produced this show before elsewhere, but I was like, well, it should be at a woman-owned comedy club, and so I should do it at QED this year. And then I bought QED, so now I'm definitely doing it there. And this is going to be like... I think I would probably top the list of like most wholesome comedy club owners, but my mom is coming and my aunt and her book club are coming. Like, it's
very, very cute.
We're the kind of comedy club that book clubs would go to, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to have a show.
If you're listening to this, you know if you want to go.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're like, but what about all the dick jokes? Oh, we have those too. We do have those too. But like, yeah.
They're just NPR style.
We call it like a phallus. Yeah, with our little $10 words. No, and like, I don't want to pigeonhole. Certainly all the comics at QED are not my style.
Sure.
We run the gamut,
Yeah.
but I think we run the gamut. I think just having a diverse lineup in terms of like comedic style, gender, race, age, already makes you so much more extreme than a lot of clubs.
And you drive the culture. So you drive the culture that you create there.
Right. It's not like it's like
either gravitate or be repelled by it.
Right, exactly. And it's not like we're like no straight white men on our lineups. That's impossible. That's most comics. But definitely just like making a concerted effort to be like, hey, we want to be a space where women perform and where like just kind of like you can, as an artistic director, kind of be fostering the kind of shows that you want to have.
Yeah.
But all this is to say, if you're like, this sounds like a woke comedy club, okay, well, yeah, maybe then it's not the place for you. But for everyone else, please come. It's going to be great.
Plenty of the other one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's plenty of the other one.
Awesome. Anything else you want to talk about?
How are you?
I'm good. I have 4 business partners now.
Nice.
It's me, Derek, who Scott Hall,
Okay.
Lex Adams, who's a big photography guy. He does a lot of Joe lists
cool.
stuff, and then his wife, Lindsay, just recently joined us too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so now we're like a kind of a bigger team, and it's been fun, like watching it be like, letting my exact thing get kind of expanded, and everyone brings their own thing to it, and then and it's a great lesson in where you find where the intersection is where you're the strongest. Like when you find like your intersection of all of you, that's where you start doing the most magical shit and having the people start to feel connected, and they start to feel like there's something special going on, and the people that like us and come to all of our shows are really get excited about that feeling.
And I think it's like exactly what I was just talking about with QED, where it's like you just have a clear identity as a space. Like these are the vibes we have, and this is kind of like our mission. I feel like that's so important. I think I always knew that was important as a comedian to have like a perspective. And, I think this is like getting back into my like hoity-toity theater school days, but something that I feel like people yearn for in performance, even if they are not consciously thinking about it, is people want honesty and vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And that's my favorite actors. And I'm realizing now that's my favorite comedians. And I think that also extends to like an artistic space where you want a space that like knows itself and has a sense of identity and like it's not just like, we're a comedy club, we put up whatever. It's you're cultivating what you want there.
Yeah. You know what you want. It's intentional.
It's intentional. Yeah. That all sounded like way too like grad school essay more than I wanted it to. But
that's your vibe.
If I were summarizing, it's like we want to put on cool shit and it's going to be cool and awesome. Come through. We have White Claw, but but yeah, I think like Grove does that well too, where it's like you just have a very clear like aesthetic vibe.
Thank you, Hannah. I do think people ask me all the time, either patrons or comedians, and like they'll be like, "How do you feel about QED?" And like, and we are like we're in the same neighborhood, and we're doing the same thing. But a couple things. One, I'm a rising tide lifts all ships kind of person, but this is also New York City, so there's a million other things on your block. First of all, in New York you exist in blocks, not even neighborhoods.
Yeah,
anymore.
we're the other side of Ditmart. We're
like barely go over there, and I want to get over there more. I just don't. I go to the bar on the corner. I go to the restaurant. on the other
people
corner.
who, and because I live on this side, which is why I had
you?
started. So there's for people
moved?
who aren't from New York, maybe honestly considering it, the walk is about 28 minutes, 25 if I'm really booking it, and I have been getting hella steps in.
Oh, good.
Let me tell you, I was like, my Fitbit is like, whatever you are doing, oh my God, you need to sleep. But yeah, I've been on this side, and it really is like a whole other world. Like, people do not leave their little.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I'm from North Carolina, where like my neighborhood was like the size of Queens, and it was just my neighborhood.
Like I spend a lot of time in Arkansas because that's where my like military work is. And like the city of Arkansas has 200,000 people. Like that, like their main city is the size of Astoria, and like it's crazy.
There's plenty of audience to go around, and that's also why it's important to like know who you are and who you're targeting.
And then also like like creating a good comedy scene requires multiple cultures and healthy competition and people like going, oh, there's something going on here. There's people who are trying to do stuff. And then also on the other hand, it's like there's a million bar shows on every street, and most of them are awful. Yeah. And it's like a Microsoft Paint poster in the back of a loud bar that they have a game on that nobody wants to hear.
Nobody is intentionally there to see jokes. My biggest like little pet peeve is when people use the neon font on Canva because it's the very first font that comes up, and I'm like, you have 1,000. I know we've all been there, but we've all moved on.
I know Canva immediately now when you see it.
Yes, because I'm like, oh my God, it's that neon with a little purple background where it's like there were so many other fonts you could have picked. Yeah. No, that's my little like, ooh, but I'm right there with you where it's like. We want Astoria to be known as a comedy destination, not just one spot. Yep. And also, like so many comedians live here. Yeah. Like I just ended up moving to Astoria because I moved in with my boyfriend who was already living here, who's decidedly not a comic. But then I found out it was like, oh, like half of us are like getting into Manhattan from the NW or from the R. Like Astoria is a huge hub for where comics live. Yeah. So yeah, pretty convenient. If you got a last minute drop, you're like, well, these 3 people live down the street.
In a couple of years, Queens Comedy Festival.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Let's do it.
That'll be great.
Let's do it.
In a couple of years being the operative. I have so many people being like, yesterday someone came up to me and he was like, have you ever considered knocking down this wall to extend the stage for improv? And I just went, nope. Like, I'm so tired. Yeah. It was one thing at a time. Yeah. I had a call today with my insurance broker for my liability insurance, my bookkeeper. I had to like fill out some health department thing because we're going to get inspected soon because it's a new owner. It's like so much shit that has nothing to do with comedy that is filling up every little last synapse in my brain right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations again. Very exciting. It's going to be more work than you've ever done, but it'll be super fun. And, excited to be here with you.
Thanks. I'm pumped to be joining the scene.
Cool.
QED.com.
Yeah,
QED Astoria. Yeah. Oh, yeah.